When I first read through Traveler and I started working on my sectors, the idea of tech levels kind of messed me up. I wasn't sure if it had a low tech level, if that means that the level of technology on that world meant that they had no access to things, and if they have no access to space travel or other technologies, then how do they even interact with the campaign, with the characters going to that planet? If they're on a spaceship and they have no technology, how does that work out? The more I thought about it, an idea occurred to me that the tech level of the planet doesn't necessarily mean that they're completely cut off. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm Tristan. This is Heroes in Homebrew. So initially I thought the tech level of a planet meant that they had no access to any of these technological advances like other planets. Like these other worlds that had very high tech levels, that were capable of interstellar travel, had robots, things of that nature. It occurred to me that that's not necessarily true. Just because they have a low tech level, say a tech level of the mid 20th century or late 19th century, or even early 21st century, doesn't necessarily mean that they have no ability to use any of that technology or have access to that technology. In my mind, at least for my campaign and my sectors, it simply means that they don't have the capability of creating that technology on the world. It doesn't mean that they don't have any of that technology. It just means that they don't have the facilities or the means to create robots or repair or build interstellar drives or have lasers and things like that. They can still use it, and those materials are sometimes imported to them, which is a great way to create a trade game, but it doesn't mean that they can't use it. So in my mind, I kind of envisioned things kind of like Firefly. I think Firefly is maybe the sort of default idea behind what Traveler should be, and that's not necessarily true. Traveler can be whatever you want it to be, but I had this idea that, say, late 19th century planets or systems don't necessarily have the capability of creating these things themselves, but you'll see people riding on horses using advanced weapons, or using grav cars but with slug throwing weapons like revolvers, things of that nature. So it's kind of a mix between these two technologies. You've got the advanced technology of these interstellar travelers who come here and bring goods and what have you, but also mixed with the technology that the people on the planet, these colonies or already established civilizations, are capable of creating themselves. And so you have this weird sort of mix of advanced and sort of rudimentary technologies. And then of course you have to sort of balance this in your mind of, okay, well, these 19th century type systems don't necessarily have this technology, but they have computer parts brought into them. So maybe like there's high level security systems on certain buildings, even though they aren't capable of creating them themselves. And as they grow and advance, they'll be able to create these systems themselves and become more advanced. It's just a way of creating sort of a living world that is in itself advancing at its own rates while still getting technology that's used throughout the rest of the system. Now, of course, you can have these planets that are red zones that are sort of haven't been met with the interstellar community and are off limits because they are advancing at their own rate for any number of reasons. But I think the more I thought about it, that's how I kind of saw it for my own campaign, meaning that unless a planet is completely off limits, even if they have a lower technology level, they can still use that technology, and there still might be aspects of that technology on the planet being used by the colonists or these civilizations just because they've made contact with these interstellar communities, with the Imperium or what have you. And so it allows for a kind of interesting mix of old and new, and how you can meld the two to create a kind of different and interesting culture on each of these systems. So that was it. This is a short one. It was just kind of something that clicked in my head, and I wanted to sort of give to you guys. The more I delve into Traveller, I'm kind of thinking of how these things work out and how they're going to work out in my campaign. So until next time, save a seat for me at your table.